The whole Charlie Kirk situation. He wasn't as bad of a person as everybody has been led to believe.
Maybe you shouldn't kill Jews, stupid Muslims.
Lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. Affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters.
No matter how many surgeries I get, I'm always gonna be Jeff. Science doesn't lie. I was at a debate. So a grown man that goes around the country debating people, spitting facts, was just taken out. And I'm not over it.
It's always fun. I get a chuckle, you know, when someone is wearing the, Free Palestine shirt and the gay flag. And
it's like, you know, they would literally murder you, right?
So, it's funny. I used to say that, hey, if you as a gay person would go to Gaza, they'd throw you off of tall buildings, right? Now they don't have any tall buildings left, so I don't.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's podcast. My name is Brittany Simon. We do philosophy through pop culture, and today we have a very serious topic ahead of us, so sit down, buckle up, and get ready. In today's podcast, we're going to be discussing two very prominent people on the internet you've probably heard of, Jeffree Star and Leo Skppy.
She didn't try to switch my fucking gender. Are you kidding me? I just don't understand how we've gotten here as a culture.
So I was very logical and very calculated about my plan for how I was going to go about a mass murder spree and then assume to follow it off.
Jeffree Star and Leo Skppy are both gay men, but they are not queer men.
I'm motherfucking ghetto, so what?
Let's talk about the differences. Given everything that's happened recently, I know people are tense and everybody feels divided, but I think it's important to talk about how we do differ bubble to bubble. So you'll often hear me say that everyone lives in bubbles and we all have our understanding and our perception of what reality is. And that really is what brings on the divide. Conflict isn't the issue, it's how we resolve it. So I just want to make sure here on this channel, and if you want my deeper dives over on my streams about the shooting that recently happened, you can definitely check that out. But I want to remind you guys that I am trying to harm reduce in everything that I do. But I'm never trying to advocate for perfection. I'm never trying to say you have to be perfect. But I do believe how we show up in the world really does matter. And so I'm trying to be a little bit better, even if I'm a slow learner like everybody else. And I've seen over the years, people like a Leo Skppy or a Jeffree Star just be, in my opinion, deeply malicious. And even recently, almost like Machiavellian in the way that they're presenting.
I never have heard him say black people deserve to die.
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin at 2 a.m. and the stand your ground law allows you to stand your ground.
This is the face of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. On February 26, he left his father's fiance's house to buy Skittles and iced tea during the NBA All-Star game.
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin at 2 a.m.
Crime Watch volunteer George Zimmerman spotted him, began to follow him.
These assholes, they always get away.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
But Zimmerman does anyway.
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin.
I never have heard him say black people deserve to die.
He begins chasing him.
This guy looks like he's up to no good or he's on drugs or something.
As we learn from his girlfriend, Martin at this point is terrified.
He said his man was watching him.
There's guys dead out here. Holy
The residents reporting these chilling howls. And then that single gunshot.
I never have heard him say black people deserve to die.
George Zimmerman was hunted at night by Trayvon Martin.
I've never heard him say gay people deserve to die.
Are you happier and more joyful that you're no longer participating in a homosexual lifestyle?
Oh, 100%. Like before I met Jesus, I was filled with so much depression, anxiety.
There is not hatred. There is still what we have as conservatives and Christians is a simple understanding that God has a certain sexual ethic that we should try to abide by. Everybody has temptations.
Never heard him say trans people deserve to die.
The October surprise is having the trans go to the White House. Be like, wow, I met with the president. All kidding aside, this is a misogynistic parody of what he thinks a woman is. It's insulting to every single woman out there. People say, oh, you're being transphobic. Like, honestly, shut up, okay? You're being transphobic. No, actually, I just want things to be normal again and not have to live in this non-stop tornado of gender confusion. I'll say it again. It's gender blackface. It's no different. And, if you want to go really far, it honestly in some ways could be worse than blackface because the people in blackface never actually claimed they were black people. We always have to be lectured about appropriation of cultures and all that. Why can you appropriate womanhood?
This is about erasure. This is about, this is eliminationist rhetoric. They have worked themselves into a frenzy about the existence of trans people.
This episode from the Majority Report is 2 years old, and the conservative movement and Charlie Kirk are trying to make people afraid of trans individuals. And now 2 years later, the official White House website has warnings against trans, quote, ideology. So when people say Charlie Kirk isn't transphobic, they're being dishonest.
He encouraged everyone to speak about their beliefs, whether he believed them or not. Am I a Republican? No, I'm a person. Because I'm standing up for someone that passed away, I'm now being called names in the chat. This is what's wrong with a lot of you people. You will never get far in life. You are sick in the head. If you're so stupid enough to go against science, please unfollow me.
In a weird way, they've become like political conservatives without being political. There's a black conservative who's also gay named Amir Odom. I've covered him in the past, is not my favorite person on the internet. And he's a good example of a traditional political commentary channel who is also gay and black. So he's a minority person advocating for the right.
To other gay people who need to realize like they do have a choice.
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the conservative movement. I don't think you should introduce yourself just based on your sexual attractions.
No, I agree. I like
because that's not who you are.
I like to be thought of as a person, and
for sure, you are a complete human being, and I'm sure you treat people well, and you're studying something. So I want to get away with this idea that you're gay anything. I just think that we have gone a long way in the negative direction in this country, where we act as if the most important part of your identity is what you do in the bedroom. It doesn't mean that much to me, but if you ask from a perspective as a Christian, I don't agree with that lifestyle, but
that's who they call homophobic. Oh, well, he said he doesn't agree with that lifestyle and he doesn't like gay marriage. That's fine. You don't have to think 100% with me on board, and just because you don't like what gay people do doesn't mean I'm gonna write you off as a bigot, homophobic person and then like boom, just not gonna talk to you for the rest of my life. No. Do you have any idea how gay Turning Point is? With all due respect, you have any idea how many gay people is employed there? Any idea how many gay influencers have been on Turning Point's platform? I can't comprehend this idea that he's this homophobic bigot just because he is very fond of his religion and he doesn't think two guys should be able to get married. There's a lot of people that think that.
But Leo Skppy and Jeffree Star are white, and they're a little different in a sense because they're not traditionally political. Leo Skppy got really popular doing sort of like advice TikToks and podcasts, which is really funny since he's in his 20s. And Jeffree Star, well, he's the makeup guru Jeffree Star, right? That's how we know him.
You've already said you're a confident individual, but there's ever a time you're like questioning, am I able to do this?
I stopped being confident with the music. So I was like, wow, I really got to do something that makes me happy. So I was like, I love makeup. This is what I've always been good at. I used to do makeup on celebrities and musicians and all these things. But I'm like, I want to create a line and be like the future of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this brand, and then I saw what was happening on social media, and YouTube was really big back then, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, all that.
Yeah.
So I hopped on that train and became the biggest beauty YouTuber. I was like, let me just try this. And I saw what the other people were doing, and they're all so fucking boring, and they're all liars. And I'm like, what the hell? So I started YouTube. Now we're billions of views later.
Unless you're from MySpace back in my day, then you know him as a recording artist.
If I can't be beautiful, I'd rather just die.
Or you might know him as the guy who says racist things about black women.
The one scandal Jeffree is most famous for was when old videos from 2007, 8, and 9, from when he was 20, 21, 22, and 23, resurfaced on the internet 3 years ago. So if you guys didn't see the videos, here they go.
You can see your pussy. Shut up, you fucking bitch. You're a fucking ugly ass bitch. Fuck you, hoe.
That person was seeking attention. I loved fighting anger with anger, and I didn't know any better. Does that make it okay? Absolutely not. I want to look everyone in the eyes and let you know that everything that you have seen is so just wrong. It's upsetting, it's nasty. It really makes me sick to my stomach to watch those old videos because what I was saying is not what I represent. I just don't understand how we've gotten here as a culture.
It's depending on the bubble you're in, you probably know these people in different ways.
Seriously, guys, what we're about to watch, no one's ready for it because I wasn't ready for it. When I read the comment that said, hey, look into this, what we're about to show you, me and Lily were like, I think your text to me was literally ... Oh. I immediately went to Brittany Simon's videos and I started looking into Leo Skppy. And guys, if you thought he was a good guy, you might want to strap in.
For Leo Skppy, if you guys don't know, I was the content creator that is, as of right now, as far as I know, the first and main one who exposed him for having a plot. Now, this clip that I created was featured in other podcasts and all over TikTok. Leo Skppy is, in my opinion, either an incredible liar or an incredibly dangerous person. And so to see him grifting towards the right just makes a lot of sense to me, because the right is a place where really dangerous people can exist and or really theatrical liars get to become very rich and prominent.
I made a plan. And I made a plan for what it was going to cost for ruining my life. I was going to get my fucking get back on every single person who has ever fucking hurt me. Like I said, the Albanian came out. So I was very logical and very calculated about my plan.
Just want to pause and stress that he was very logical about this plan.
And for how I was going to go about a mass fucking spree and then a to follow it off. Because I'm not getting away with it. The amount of people I was going to get, there was no getting away with it. There was a paper trail. There was too much shit going on. And I was looking at it like my life is already over. So let's make it worth something. If you're going to try and fuck up my life, if you're going to take away my life, you're going to pay the cost. And it's going to cost you yours and every single thing you love in this fucking world. So my plan.
So, but just to let that sink in. Literally, I was watching this like, what?
I've been slandered and people have taken things that I've said out of context and run with it in a complete opposite direction. People have said everything about me there is to say at this point. And the people who actually see me and know my heart and actually watch the shit that I post and the things that I say coming out of my own mouth, people who watch it in context, in the full context, see the truth of who I am. As much as people painted me out to be a certain way, okay, even the crazy one is telling you you're wrong. So also I have a lot of resentment right now because everybody who turned on me and destroyed my entire life for talking about murdering someone who is truly evil, all these motherfuckers are now on the bandwagon pushing how this person being murdered was okay. I hope every single one of you gets the last bit of what the fuck you have coming to you.
Pardon? Fucking hell. So what is the difference between being gay and being queer? Because that's really the topic today. When I say I'm a queer person, I'm also trying to signal that I am politically queer, that I am not just attracted to same-sex or non-binary people or having a deconstructing gender experience, that I am in every way bringing like queerness to my life.
The question, should prominent gays and lesbians who want their sexuality kept secret be exposed by other homosexuals? Outweek editor Gabriel Rotello says going public could improve the image of homosexuals.
For a long time, people had been deliberately suppressing the fact that some of the most famous and powerful people in the United States are gay. Some of the biggest role models for our whole society are gay. And we began to question why it is that we have always accepted that.
The danger of dragging someone out of the closet against their will is it becomes intrusive and a violation of privacy, of which our movement for freedom and equality is based on.
In some cities, gay activists have demonstrated against politicians they say are gay and hypocritical because they don't support gay issues.
Don't comment no shit to me, Happy Pride. I'm not happy about it. I don't like that shit. No, not Happy Pride. Unhappy Pride. Do not loop me and Boots, no matter how gay he is, into that crowd. No! We had crisis after crisis in our community. We've been targeted, harassed. This current administration, this administration that the Leo Skppys and the Jeffree Stars are kind of playing footsie with, yeah, they're targeting us.
I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
One question for Mike. What's my gender? I just remember Mike trying to cockblock me and Andrew Schultz and wasn't keeping it real.
Oh wait, did I fuck this up in the past?
Yeah.
Can
we open this for me?
Gotcha. No. You identify as he/he.
Fuck yeah, bro.
All right. Was that? hey, fuck yeah, bro. Was that right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay.
I'm a dude. I love makeup. I love fashion. I've been doing this for so long now. These terms did not exist when I was a kid.
Do you fuck with them or no?
With what?
the terms.
No, I think half of it's fucking stupid. But no one wants to ever say that.
Will you get in trouble for saying it?
I don't care anymore.
You're beyond.
But I never cared. Yeah, I've been canceled 10 times. You guys talk about cancel culture all the time.
And they're going to target those men, believe it or not. Token gay people think that for some reason the conservative party are going to embrace them. I know the Blair Whites think, oh, but they're cool with me and I'm trans.
Charlie Kirk was an icon, and that's why they took him out. Charlie Kirk said what he said, he stood on it, and he built something off of it, and that's what these people could never, ever, ever do. And that's part of why they're so foul, ghoulish, and demonic, even in this moment. You know, I see a lot of people having to preface their condolences for his death if they can even muster it up. I see people having to preface it with, you know, I disagreed with every single thing he said. No one asked. No one gives a fuck. Shocker, but no one gives a fuck about your opinions.
They would say I'm hateful. They would say I'm a bigot. They would say that I'm a xenophobe. Those are the contentions that I get.
But based on what things that you've said specifically?
I mean, I believe that transgenderism is a mental disorder, as it was, diagnosed in the.
So you don't think any people are like born, quote unquote, in the wrong body?
No, I don't agree.
No?
I think people might think they are.
An icon.
But at the end of the day, in order for these people to embrace you, you have to also throw your community under the bus and or be self-hating.
I'm a lesbian and no longer feel safe at gay pride events, and that is fucking sad. Pride events used to be about actual love and diversity and inclusion. Now these events have become completely political. We are expected to think, act, and vote a specific way. Imagine if I wore this MAGA hat to one now. The people that do agree with what I have to say and know who I am and want to come up and take pictures with me won't, because they're afraid of being ostracized, shunned. I honestly used to look forward to these events every year, at least like a few of them, I would get to meet a ton of you, I would get to potentially make new friends, and not worry about being followed home by crazy leftists. And I truly do wonder when this demographic is going to fully wake up and realize that they are being completely taken advantage of. And a lot of people have already, I'm not gonna lie, some people, a lot of you watching. When will these people realize that they have become the bullies that they've always hated? They are now the ones who shun people for being different, for thinking differently, or for simply believing in something that they don't agree with. Pride should truly start being called its exact opposite. Shame.
Community that I was naturally a part of because of the way that I was born, that community has been so severely targeted. And so we work our hardest to reclaim our status in society by reclaiming the slur queer.
I think you have to go with queer.
Queer is really interesting. And I know some younger people have reached out to me saying we shouldn't use this word, even if it's reclaimed. But I think it's really important that we do distinguish the difference between being gay and queer for exactly this reason.
In a scene from the film All of Us Strangers, two gay men from different generations have a short conversation about the use of the term queer. The older of the two confesses that he's not comfortable with the word, partly because of the trauma he still feels from hearing it as an insult when he was younger. The younger character says that's why he doesn't like the word gay, because it was used as an insult in his youth. And this is how this discussion is often framed, at least for gay men, that queer was the insult of a previous generation, but it's been reclaimed, while gay was a more recent insult, so that baby boomers and Gen Xers prefer gay, while millennials and Gen Zers prefer queer. And okay, there is some truth in this. There is a generational divide here, and for some people, a word's past use as an insult can permanently alter how they feel about it.
Gay people, or even binary trans people, are engaging in a sort of privilege that allows them to even appeal to a status quo of conservative narrative that in many ways will protect them when the administration comes hunting, but not always in every situation. But for the most part, the conservatives might just let these binary trans people and these gay people who are conservative sort of be okay for a while they target all the freaks.
So I've been gaslit for the past week and a half since Charlie Kirk's assassination, people telling me that he was homophobic, he would have hated me.
So you love God, so you must love his law. How do you love somebody?
Here we go, folks.
You love them by telling them the truth, not by confirming or affirming their sin. Is in Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death.
The freaks will be the people who are more queer, people who are deconstructing, people who aren't necessarily within the binary of their trans experience, people who are gay but liberated in their dress or the way that they show up in the world.
One of the things that's so tragic about humanity is that we keep on mistaking the prison as another home. We keep on saying this is freedom and it's just another leash. And what we don't recognize is that true freedom is going to be uncomfortable because when you are so conditioned into this perpetual status of our unfreedom, that calcifies. And so people think that what is natural and what is reality is actually a prison. And what I'm actually trying to say is the only gender rule is that there are no rules. And that actually man and woman only mean what you need them to mean for you. And people hear that as a threat and not an invitation because of trauma. Because they're afraid of possibility, because they've been taught that the only way that they can get love and receive love and be is by being someone else's fantasy of who they should be.
So remember that when we're having these conversations, we're having it from sort of a political, philosophical lens and from just a personal lived experience. So in many ways, you being gay is neutral. You being trans is neutral. It has no political origin. You were born this way, but yet you were born into a world that has political constructs, and those political constructs impact your basic civil rights. And this administration is coming for those rights.
In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
So when you have Leo Skppy or Jeffree Star show up in the world and advocate for sort of the same administration or bubble or political outlook, or sort of start demeaning other queer people, or they start sort of benefiting themselves at the expense of the queer community, you have to realize that it really is your own sometimes, your own. People who should understand you and know where you've come from, should know your struggle, who should be protecting you, but they're going to throw you under the bus. Now, they're doing it for their own weird psychological reasons. Who knows? I know both of these men have an incredible past of trauma and issues, and I don't think they've deconstructed or read a book.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
I love you, rate me.
My dad raised me very protective of people I care about. Like, my whole family's like that. Like, I literally, when I care about you, I will literally do anything to protect you. Anything. So, like, any threat to you, I'm taking it out. It's like that aspect. Like, oh, I can beat you up. It's like any threat to something I care about or someone I care about, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, I'll sacrifice myself to make sure you're not hurt.
Wow.
But, like, that I already had in me, and then meeting my stepdad was like a whole different level.
So what would your stepdad do? Was he like Fight Club or something? That's how I imagine.
He was the type that, like, he went to prison for murdering
oh my God.
a few people.
What is your life?
Insane. Like,
you need like a movie. Oh my God. Okay.
He went to prison for like murdering some people, and like he had that prison mentality from like a very young age of like disrespect, you fight. You look at somebody wrong, you're hitting them. It's like he took that violence I already had in me to an extreme, and then like ripped me into like a whole different life of it. Like no laws, no rules. He was above the law. You couldn't catch him. Like had so many cop friends. Like was corrupt as fuck.
Oh wow!
Like would get away with anything.
I think there's a lot there they could talk to their therapist about. But for our sake as a community, we have to know the difference between being gay and being queer.
Over the past decade, San Francisco's war on AIDS has been fought with activism. Protests against government inaction and demonstrations of gay pride. Residents have not waited for federal or state help.
We're not trying to promote anything. We're not trying to enhance anything. We're just trying to stop a deadly disease.
Those on the front lines can only hope their city's dedication will be enough to battle a second decade of AIDS.
Another prominent example, and one that isn't the focus of this video, is like Ellen DeGeneres, who Ellen was my gay icon.
I'm gay. It was 5 years of my life.
You were just hurting yourself if you came out in the 90s.
That was like a really big deal. You know, I read the books, I watched the shows, I even wrote into her show. Like I was obsessed. But Ellen isn't queer, she's more or less gay.
Finally tonight, we thought we'd address kindness, civility, and politics, which don't seem to be mentioned in the same sentence much these days. Took a greeting on the gridiron between former President George W. Bush and Ellen DeGeneres to bring it into sharp focus. Former President George W. Bush and his wife Laura were also there.
People were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? But here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again.
Ellen used the moment to preach about civility.
I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay that we're all different. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone.
She's a person who's not engaging in queer politics, so she's not deconstructing the standard script we've all been fed our whole lives.
The fact of the matter is we live in a free society, and freedom means freedom for everybody. We don't get to choose and shouldn't be able to choose and say you get to live free but you don't. And I think that means that people should be free to enter into any kind of relationship they want to enter into. It's really no one else's business in terms of trying to regulate or prohibit behavior in that regard. The fact of the matter, of course, is that matters is regulated by the states.
I'm not for gay marriage. I think marriage is a sacred institution between a man and a woman. And I appreciate the way the administration signed the Defense of Marriage Act. I'm going to be respectful for people who may disagree with me. I've had a record of doing so in the state of Texas.
I think that we should find a way to allow some kind of civic unions. And I basically agree with Dick Cheney and Joe Lieberman. And I think the three of us have one view and the governor has another view.
Guys, I could get along with anybody for a very short amount of time before we didn't get along. But just that window of getting along with the people that are different from you is a real phenomenon that happens, and it's why society works, because we are able to get along with people. The part in which we deviate, the part of the conversation that's happening right now because of Charlie Kirk's death, is around this idea of agreeing to disagree. Yes, I can agree to disagree about our favorite fruit or our favorite anime, but we cannot agree to disagree on our basic civil rights. We cannot agree to disagree that women are allowed to get and seek medical care when it comes to abortion or birth control in general. We cannot agree to disagree that gay and trans people exist in the world and should exist in the world and can be parents and can be teachers and can be good people. Like these are not agree to disagree topics. They're turning it into, that's just my opinion.
People now think that their opinion is worth as much as facts.
I'm just pointing out what I wish people would point out more is like when you see the internet intentionally turning someone who's not that bad into a fucking scapegoat, call it out, like vouch for people's character. I feel like this is a time where like people's character needs to be fought for.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
Sick reference though, bro. Oh, thanks, bud. Dude, your references are out of control. Everyone knows that.
So when Charlie or Leo are criticizing the world for not being too empathetic or sympathetic towards Charlie, they're missing a big point here. That a lot of us are very empathetic and sympathetic to the whole situation in general, but we're not sympathetic or empathetic, meaning having an embodied or even a logical experience for Charlie himself, because to us, Charlie, well, first wouldn't definitely not have it for us, but two, he isn't almost like a real person in some ways. He's just a talking head who says really horrible things about all these minority communities, and he's just kind of like a bad guy. It is hard to have empathy and sympathy for bad people, though I think it's possible. If you deconstruct and have a philosophical sort of relationship with humanizing even the most evil, you can have a lot of empathy for Charlie. I just don't think you have to. But I think it's okay if you do. But I think this weaponizing of if you don't, you're a bad person is missing the point that Charlie was a bad person.
That is so against our senses, so against the natural law, and dare I say, a throbbing middle finger to God is the transgender thing happening in America right now. We are in a church, and so it's important to remember Deuteronomy 22:5, a woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God.
He asked what the definition of a woman was. And that man said back to Charlie, a woman is whoever thinks they're a woman. My brain is losing, my IQ is lowering every time I see one of these people respond to him. Huh? Can anyone make it make sense? Can anybody make it make sense?
I think Leo Skppy and Jeffree Star, they're more grifters than they are serious, but I think they're allowed and sort of feeling good about being a grifter because they're just gay and they're not queer.
I don't really give a fuck anymore. The world's cooked, bitch. So live it out, have fun. I don't see nothing getting better. Either it's gonna have to get really, really bad before it gets good, or the world's just gonna have to go to war. But life as we know it is not gonna continue for much longer. So that's why I'm saying enjoy it. Because either something bad is gonna happen and it's gonna fix it and it's gonna get better, we're gonna have to rebuild, or the world's gonna go to war and everybody's gonna fucking have to go.
I think if you're gay, you're more likely to grift than if you're queer, because to be queer is to embody queer political beliefs and or philosophical outlooks. Meaning to say that you're queer in a political sense is to say that I am deconstructing the standard expectation of behavior and I am looking for something better than what is presented to me. But if you're already happy with the status quo, if you're already white, already rich, already have status, and you got it pretty young, relatively speaking, you probably don't have that many issues with the way that things are. And I think this is the part that people are really missing is Leo Skppy and Jeffree Star are capitalists. And when you're a capitalist in the world, then money speaks louder than identity. And yet people still find a way to care about your status. So when it comes to it, white men will throw everybody under the bus, rich white men, capitalists specifically. So they will get rich and be on top at the expense of everybody else, right? And this includes even if you're gay, but there is a hierarchy to the status. Cis straight men, cis gay men, white, cis black straight men, and then gay men, right? So there is like a hierarchy that exists. And I think Jeffree Star and Leo Skppy are just like, they're up there. And so because they're up there, they feel entitled. They feel entitled to mock other minorities, to talk bad about people, to say racist things, to engage in capitalism, to not be queer, to not fight back, to not deconstruct. And so I just warn you, when you see a content creator on the internet and you like them, make sure you check out their other content and see if you still vibe with them. One of the things that happened with Charlie Kirk and I think Leo Skppy that I find so interesting is Leo Skppy, some people only know him from TikTok. So they see these very short advice blurbs and they go, oh, Leo Skppy's so good, but they don't know his podcast, which is where I exposed him for having a murder-suicide plot. And or they see his podcast, but they don't see his TikToks. Same with Charlie Kirk. There are two groups who like Charlie Kirk. Old people who only saw him as a Christian.
I hope you give your life to Jesus Christ. Jesus loves you.
And young people who saw him as a debate bro.
The fact that we have more food that we throw away every single year than we actually eat. The fact that in the Western world...
Think that's a good thing? You think that our waste is a good thing, dude?
We have an abundance problem in the West, not a scarcity problem. Yeah. In Venezuela, the average Venezuelan lost 17 pounds. Oh, yes? 4,000% inflation. Yes. Brink on the Civil War.
Venezuela,
yes.
the only socialist country on the planet, everybody.
Yes.
And those two communities don't actually overlap as often as you would think. So for some people, they thought a nice Christian boy died. And for other people, they're like, oh, the debate bro died. These are two different groups of people, two different bubbles, two different realities. Jeffree Star, he's either the makeup guru and or the guy who's always live on Twitch. He's different things to different groups of people.
Dear Diary, I wish there was more than two genders, because I'm getting really bored.
Right now, if you're Leo Skppy or Jeffree Star, you are seeing the grift money right in front of your eyes. Because for the next 2 to 5 to 7 years, y'all, it's going to be like the 1990s again. And I saw this TikTok say exactly that we're going back to the 1990s. And I had this big bubble pop.
This is what the 90s were like. I'm an older millennial, so I remember what it was like, okay? I mean, Gen X probably remembers too, even though, I mean, they voted for this. Gen X women voted for this more than any other group of women, which is probably why we're going back into the 90s, because that's what they want. But this is what the 90s were like. People openly using slurs, being threatening, the sexism. This is why millennials are the way we are. This is why we pissed everyone off, because we were like, enough with the toxicity. And none of these people changed. I know so many people are shocked that, oh my God, I can't believe this, that, or the other. No, this is what people have been like. And so, yeah, it's not new. I see a lot of people in denial. You're finding out, people are coming out of the woodworks. I can't believe people are like this. No, they were just quiet because they wanted to keep the peace and they don't want to lose connections with people. But a lot of people have these conversations in private.
This realization that, oh my gosh, it really is going to be my childhood again, because I'm a mid-millennial. Guys, I grew up in an America where saying you were an atheist was like coming out as a predator. Saying you were an atheist was basically admitting you had no values. I grew up in an America where Christians and atheists were debating if atheists were good enough people to be in a society. And I think they kind of want to go back to the 90s days where Christians were prominent, where atheists weren't, where slurs were everywhere, where bigotry was everywhere. And I'm just going to remind you once again that we go in cycles, and we're in that new cycle. And I need you to like get ready. I need you to be kind and compassionate and loving to your neighbors and to everybody else. I need you to be loving to your Republican neighbors and hold your Republican politicians accountable. I need you to be kind to yourself so it emanates out. I need you to understand these grifters are going to come out of the woodworks like no one's business.
I'm not into all the other bullshit. I think.
What other bullshit?
The they and them.
Yeah.
And all that extra shit that we added during the pandemic because everyone was so bored on their fucking houses. They just started to make up more shit and more shit.
More stuff.
Yeah. That's why the conservatives like me, because I'm just real.
The Leo Skppys and the Jeffree Stars, like they are not going to be a unique experience. You're going to see more gay and trans people come out. I see them every day on my TikTok. Oh my gosh.
Come on a conservative cruise with me. Join me, Brandon Strzok, and the Log Cabin Republicans for the first ever gay and lesbian conservative cruise. No, you do not have to be gay and lesbian. You can be straight because over here we're actually inclusive.
You are able to live your life the way that you are because of the extreme lefts that fought so hard for the protections and laws and equality that we have now.
Everybody gets to live the same
Tell
way
me
as
what
you.
rights we don't have, what laws that we don't have.
I think I was really thrown off by having to explain some of these things that I thought were very obvious. But after seeing the video, I realized a lot of scenes were cut out, especially points that were made on the liberal side that would have made our points a lot more clear. They even cut out parts where all of us agreed. I also don't like that they don't have a moderator. Oftentimes you'll find one side being more aggressive and louder than other people and continually to cut them off and not allowing them to finish a point, which is what happened. I also felt like some of the prompts and questions lacked substance. Because conservatives want to conserve the past when progressives want to progress forward. Just because you are cozy and comfortable in your life and you don't face discrimination at all because of all the works that the progressives have done, and you not being able to realize that is a problem. And so to have the mindset that we're good where we are and we don't have to do any work to fight back against the 520 plus anti-LGBTQ bills that have been introduced this year is privilege.
Now, let me tell you this, as a former gay Republican, it didn't last very long, and I was always questioning people, and I was definitely always when I was like 18, out of high school, in the Republican clubs, and they'd be like, you talk a lot about gay people. Are you gay? And I'm like, no, I'm not gay, because I was so closeted. And I was definitely, in that bubble. And then I had the bubble pop, and I realized like, oh, Republicans are really like grifters and or, tricked by the grifters and or just too homophobic, too racist to ever deconstruct. And that's what's so devastating, is that these same people that are gay and black and minority who are entering into these conservative bubbles are doing it at the expense of everybody else, because these communities will never, ever really like you, trust you, embrace you. You will always be the token. You will always be a minority.
I actually knew that I was a lesbian from the age of 5, but at the age of 16, I decided no more girl clothes. So I guess you can say I really came out at 16.
At least 25 years ago, when I realized that I was gay and could come out. And I still had that stigma that it was wrong.
16 or 15 years old, I kind of realized that there was something different about me.
I was never in the closet, so I never had to come out. You knew, I knew, whoever knew, knew. I faced more problems being a black woman than I did as a lesbian.
Once I came out, there was no going back. And especially being lesbian and black and in a church, it was difficult, but I stood my ground and I refused to let people intimidate me.
I came out twice. I came out as a gay man, and then I came out as Pearl.
And so again, I just implore you, I encourage you to remember that Jeffree Star and Leo Skppy, this just makes a lot of sense, what they're doing. And it is the key difference between gay people and queer people, is queer people are protesting and fighting and have connections to the AIDS crisis and have connections to protests and have connections to bailing their friends out of prison for standing up for their civil rights.
Everyone went to King's Cross. In King's Cross, there was a huge number of police assembled, and I could see it. I was very, very worried about what would happen. We did say to the police, we're leaving, and everyone was quiet, but they attacked and tried to arrest as many people as they could.
You were arrested and you were taken into custody. Are you comfortable telling us what happened at the police station?
I'm never really comfortable about it. But I was very, very severely beaten by the police. Yeah, I felt that it took me about 3 years to get over that. But actually, you never get over.
And Leo Skppy's and Jeffree Star's are too busy hanging out with Republicans and basically making money at the expense of everybody else to care. They're two people who benefit from your hard work and your protesting and your activism and your dedication and your life being put on the line. And they don't even understand how much they're benefiting. Or maybe they do. And I think that's kind of the key point here. And that's sort of how devastating this whole situation is in many ways, but I don't want you to lose hope. I want to read you this quote by Dan Savage that I think conveys the feelings that I have right now in regards to this whole situation. This is what Dan Savage said in regards to the AIDS crisis. During the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning, we protested in the afternoon, and we danced at night. And it was the dance that kept us in the fight because it was the dance that we were fighting for. I just think that's so beautiful and so necessary. And we have to remember that as we show up in the world as queer people, not just gay, we're showing up fighting for our life, fighting for our representation, fighting for our right to exist. And that is something that we can never take for granted. And the fact that we even have to do it in the first place is so devastating.
Homosexuality was a disease, the lavender scare, which kept a lot of people from working, the raids that went on, just because someone would decide, okay, it's time to go raid this place.
I remember early on thinking I would never go into a gay bar.
What's most painful was how I reacted to other homosexuals, other people, non-heterosexuals. I was very mean, because if I joined the other side of the team, then I'm safe.
Went into the Navy with the idea as a career man. And here I was, a gay man, 19 years old. And my job was to give people who were gay discharges, undesirable discharges, because they weren't fit for service.
The fact that we even have to fight for our right to exist is such a devastating part of reality. No one should ever have to fight for their right to exist. We are all born free, but it's either all of us or none of us. And so I will continue fighting even for the gay people who refuse to be queer and continue to throw queer people under the bus, because I'm not just fighting for people who agree with me. I'm fighting for all of us. Even the people who make it so difficult for no reason, or in this case, very selfish reasons. With that said, I hope you're doing okay. I know this week has been rough. I know things are tense, but I encourage you to meditate, to take a deep breath, to go for a walk, to hug your loved ones, and to remember that it will get better because we will get better.
There is a consistent narrative that homophobia can be reasoned with, that if we simply debunk the arguments, fact-checked the misinformation, then we will be able to convince others of the legitimacy of our lives. And certainly these efforts are necessary, but they are insufficient. Considering what we know about humans, why is our first line of defense logic, not love? Argument, not emotion? Why do we turn to the economists to understand human behavior, not the artists? We have to reach to a deeper place. We are dealing with humans here. We humans who pick and choose what we believe to reinforce our own sense of reality. We humans who self-sabotage just to maintain a semblance of control with a future that we can predict. We humans who use strangers as surrogates for our unprocessed grief. Poetry is another mode of engagement that embraces contradiction as the constitutive human condition. In other words, the revolution will be counterintuitive and silly and naive and all the other words we use to shroud magic and shame.
The greatest illusion of this world is the illusion of separation. Things you think are separate and different are actually one and the same.
Like the four nations.
Yes, we are all one people. we live as if divided.
We're all connected. Everything is connected.
That's right. Even the separation of the four elements is an illusion. You open your mind, you will see that all the elements are one. Four parts of the same whole. Even metal is just a part of earth that has been purified and refined.
If I have to, I will spend every day of the rest of my life hunting the Avatar. I know it's my destiny to capture it.
Is it your own destiny, or is it a destiny someone else has tried to force on you?
Sometimes it hurts more to hope, and it hurts more to care. You have to promise me that you won't stop caring. I'm done dwelling on the past. Really? I'm here now and I'm going to make the most of it.